looking at society, we have gendered norms, you know, and so as a result, our identity and our expression of said identity is really filtered through what society tells us is quote-unquote normal. So if you don't subscribe to what society says you're supposed to be, or how you're supposed to act, or how you're supposed to look, then that's viewed as being abnormal. Every individual has to define what normal is for them.
So I think if we're talking about mainstream media, I mean, I think it probably has a big influence that it sets norms in a lot of ways. It gives us models for how we're supposed to behave. It gives us models for how we're supposed to behave and the way that we're supposed to look. And not everybody follows those, obviously. But I do think that mainstream media in particular has a pretty big influence in setting certain expectations for the way that people are supposed to express their gender. And particularly, I think the dominant ideal is probably that women are supposed to be feminine and men are supposed to be masculine.
Boys don't cry, you know, that whole idea, this notion that, you know, men are strong and men are tough and women are expected to be soft and maternal. And so I think that we have a real hang-up, we have issue, we take issue with men and women who don't fit what society says we are supposed to be. The media has a huge impact on gender expression. I think if we're looking at media representations, you know, it runs the gamut, you know, so you can see the media portrayals of men and women in shows that are popular today. You know, I'm thinking of like a show like A Modern Family on ABC, and then you can find it in shows that are geared towards children on a Nickelodeon or a Disney Channel. I think that, you know, another great example would be commercials that are geared for children and children's toys. So if you look at how little girls are portrayed and the types of toys that we make that are catered to them, you know, so it's Barbie and it's pink, or it's, you know, the play school kitchenette set, you know, and it's all very, we're trying to domesticate our young girls. And then if you look at commercials that are geared towards boys, it's, you know, there's dirt and there are cars, you know, and it's rough and tumble and there, you know, guns are involved. We're indoctrinating children from a very early age. You know, we're exposing you and telling you this is how you're supposed to act and this is what you're supposed to be.
Did they send me daughters when I asked for sons to see why?
How we all enjoy letting loose with a little la-da-dum-dum-dum while we're emptying the vacuum. It's such fun to hum a happy working song. No one is curly and brawny.
As you see, I've got biceps to spare.
You're the saddest bunch I ever met, but you can bet before we're through, Mr. I'll make a man out of you.
To me, because even these women who are in these really powerful positions positions, masculine positions, detectives and cops, and you know, there they are running around in these 3-inch heels, and I'm like, really? You know, you're gonna catch criminals in 3-inch heels. And it's very funny because the shows themselves sometimes call that out, and the characters will make comments about, what are you doing in those shoes? And yet they're still in those shoes. So it shows that there is an awareness, I think, on the part of the people that produce those shows that it's ridiculous, and yet they still do it. So I still think, even though there's a lot more portrayals of women in traditionally masculine roles like cop, detective, doctor, lawyer, nonetheless there's still this real emphasis on them being feminine and looking feminine, even when it comes across as kind of absurd. One of the most important things we could do is to recognize that gender comes in a spectrum, and that it isn't just male-female. So challenging the gender binary, I think, is a really important one, that people don't necessarily just fall into these boxes or one or the other, but that there's a range.
You know, and so as a viewer, as an audience member, as a consumer of, you know, I have as much of a responsibility as the corporations who are creating these television shows and creating these commercials to say, I don't feel like this completely aligns with what our society looks like. So, you know, I challenge us to consider what responsibility and what role do we play in media representations, because if we just keep accepting it and we keep consuming it, then it's just going to continue to be created.